Hi guys, welcome to the new week of teaching. This is obviously quite a different one because you're going to be going into school at some point. Just to remind you, although I did put a post up about it, the work you do in school is something totally separate. It's like school work, and when you're at home, you just continue on with classes like normal. So we're continuing on with our gods and heroes story. So to catch up, where we left off last week, we have got Paris and Helen hiding out in Troy, this hugely defended city with King Priam who runs it. We've got um, our kind of very upset husband Menelaus, who has gone to his brother Agamemnon, who's like the king of Greece, and said, we need to get Helen back. This is ridiculous. Um, and the Greeks are kind of deciding how they are going to go and get Helen back from Troy. Remember, Troy is a little bit outside of Greece. So that's kind of where we're at. Today, I'm going to begin by teaching you a new Greek word. Now, last week we learned the word xenia, and this week we're going to be learning the word kleos. Kleos is spelt Kleos, and the word basically means fame or renown or glory. And it's as I said, the Xenia was really important. This kind of like sense of being good to your guests and being good host. It was like fundamental to who they were. Well, Kleos was another kind of attitude or thing that the Greeks really, really valued. You don't want to be someone unknown. You wanted to be able to be famous. You wanted people to know who you were. So you wanted to gain Kleos, gain fame. So it's important you know that word before we get started. So we're actually going to be leaving Agamemnon and Menelaus, and we're going to be leaving Paris and Helen for a little bit for this part of the story. And we're going to go and find two heroes. Now, these two heroes are really important and quite famous, and some of you might have already researched them. So, in order to raise up an army, Agamemnon sent out for a load of heroes and their kind of warriors to come and join him. The two names of the two heroes we're going to be talking about today are Achilles and Odysseus. And they were some of the most famous people around. They already had quite a bit of Kleos. We're going to begin with Odysseus, and I'm actually not going to really tell you the story because you're going to be doing your work this week's actually going to be a wee close reading thing on it. But they go out to Odysseus's house, and Odysseus lives in an island called Ithaca, and it's really beautiful and a bit rocky, lots of goats, but it's quite nice, and it's quite a small island. He's not like a big king, he's not like a big ruler of his own island, and he lives a really happy life with his wife and with his son, and they're really happy together, and the son is just a baby, and yeah, when he gets called upon to go out to war, his first instinct, which I'm sure that all of you can kind of relate with, was, well, I don't want to go. I'm not going to some what over a girl, over like some girl, and against Troy, which is unbelievably tricky to attack place. No way, I'm not doing it. So he came up with an elaborate trick to try and convince the man who was sent to come and get him that he wasn't fit to go. I'm not going to tell you much more because you're going to be reading it in the extract, but it's a classic thing that Odysseus does. There's lots of stories about Odysseus. He gets his own book. That's not the story that we're doing just now. But he plays a trick, but it doesn't go very well. Unfortunately, he has to go out to war. The story we're going to focus on today is Achilles. Now, Achilles was a lot younger than Odysseus. Didn't have sort of the whole home set up yet thing. He was kind of like an up and comer, I suppose. And the first thing to know about him is that he was the son of a goddess, of like a minor goddess. So he already had a little bit of kind of god's sort of blood in him, which is quite cool. So he was very powerful, very strong. He was a really, really good fighter. And he's the man that Agamemnon will have wanted, because not only was he an amazing warrior, but he had his men were like an elite group of fighters. They were called the Myrmidons, and they were so strong and so powerful. It was kind of said that, if you had one Myrmidon, he was worth 10 men. So 10 Myrmidon was already like a big chunk of an army because they were so well trained. Now Achilles got told, right, we'd like you to come to battle and to come and get back Helen. And what Achilles did was he went and had a chat with his mum. I think that's fairly acceptable. Like, oh, I'm being asked to go out to war. What should I do? And the mum gives him a kind of prophecy that she's always known. She said, "You've got a choice to make. If you go out and go over to Troy and fight and do all the stuff over there, you will be one of the most famous people who has ever lived. Even today, people know who Achilles is. People have heard of the name. You will get riches, you'll get gold, you will get kleos, you will get honor and glory." And Achilles is like, okay, this sounds great, but there's a catch. He will die over there. So he will go over, fight for a little while, but ultimately will die. But he'll die the most famous man in the world. The other option is you stay at home, you get out of it, you do a bit better than Odysseus did, and you won't die. You'll live a long and healthy life. You'll have a family, you'll find love, but no one will ever remember your name. Achilles thought on this, and he made a decision. And the decision he made was fundamentally more exciting to the storyline. He decided he wanted kleos. He wanted that life of riches and glories, even if it was going to kill him early. Have a think just now. This is where I talked to the class about this. What do you think? Do you think it was the right decision? I know, obviously, I'm sure you'll think it wasn't, but if you think about that choice, would you rather have a really, really, really long life but nobody knows you, or have a bit of a shorter life and everyone knows you? Now, I've quite a few people, celebrities, I think they kind of adopt that Achilles mindset, and they live life to the max, and they do a lot of like drinking and drugs, and they become very glorious, and they die. There's actually, they die of overdoses, or they commit suicide and things like that. There's something called the 27 Club. It's not actually a club, but it's the name that people give to it, and it's all of the celebrities who died at the age of 27, which is horrifyingly my age. So people choose that this story is relevant. People are still like that, and Achilles made that choice. And it's really interesting to compare him with Odysseus, who actually doesn't really want that life. He ends up being quite famous anyway, but he wanted to be at home, he wanted to be with his wife, he wanted to be with his young boy, but unfortunately that wasn't the hand he was dealt, so he had to go. So that's the part of the story that I kind of wanted to focus on today. These two men and the two things they kind of hold important to them. Achilles, who thinks kleos is most important, and Odysseus, who thinks that family and kind of the home are more important. Now, these two men duly got in their ships and they sailed out to join the cause. And we're going to end this part of the story. It's just a short bit today, I'm aware of that. I'm trying to limit the amount that you're having to do, especially because you're going into school. But we're going to end the story on a beach. And it's the closest bit of beach to Troy. They've got to do a big bit of sailing across a sea to be able to get to Troy. And we're going to end the story with Agamemnon and Menelaus, Odysseus and Achilles, and a huge other army. And they arrive ready to sail out. The ships are built, everything's prepared, but the wind won't blow in the right direction, and they're stuck. And that's where we're going to leave off, and we'll pick up next lesson. So they can't move anywhere. They don't know what to do. Right, guys, that is your part of the story. The week's work is should be okay. I'm going to leave you to kind of do it rather than go through it, because actually I think the questions are easy enough, and I do want to see how you're doing with your close reading skills. Remember, if it says own words, you have to try to use all of your own words for the most part, and none of the main words in the passage. Obviously, and is and of, you can't find alternate words for that. If it says word choice, we'll pick out. I think I actually tell you to pick out a word if needs be. And I'm looking forward to reading your answers. Right, I'll maybe see you. I'm in teaching 3 mornings, I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So maybe I'll see one of you, and if I do, I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys, I will talk to the rest of you next week. Goodbye.